Hi, welcome to my channel where we question everything. Today's topic is bits and pieces, and the subject is the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipelines. And the drama is still continuing on who did what and so on. And what did we all expect? Russia is going to be blamed for the attack, for destroying their own infrastructure, for which they have paid billions for. To do what? Cut off the gas, possible gas flow to Europe, when they just could have closed the tap. But I did address in the previous video why they wouldn't do that. But as they have cut it for Italy, so it seems to me my assessment wasn't totally correct. But then the whole circumstances around Italy is not that clear. And then all the pro-Russians, punters, say that naturally the main suspect is the USA. Now, it might be true. The Americans might have blown up the pipe. They threatened to do that before, or explicitly said that they will prevent the Nord Stream 2 pipeline to function. And one has to ask yourself whether they have the goal to try to convince the people that they are innocent, they haven't done it. But if you look at the big lie of the weapons of mass destruction that led to the Second Gulf War and the destruction of Iraq, then yeah, maybe they might be so idiotic or lying in your face type of attitude. But one has to ask questions. That is what we do in this channel. And the biggest question is basically, if the USA or America is the most likely culprit to do the sabotage, would that entity then do it? If I tell you I will kill you, and then you die, then I am the natural suspect. And that would count a lot against me because I have threatened you. So one has to ask you a little bit of that question. And then the general narrative goes around, or the general statement from the Russian supporters is, and even Putin, and the question is usually who benefits. And I have used the same quote in my previous video. But it's a very dangerous and a simplification, very dangerous attitude and a simplified viewpoint. So I just would like to present an alternative. Well, firstly, what I said is that you could have had the Green Party, who are fanatics in any case. They might have organized a clandestine operation using private contractors, and they would have destroyed the pipelines. And one has to look at motive. Opportunity would have been easy to do. Motive would also be easy to identify. They want to basically close the back door for Germany to receive the gas and force them to invest and promote and support the Green Deal, which is renewable energy. So they have motive, they have the means, and they have the access to do it. Whether they'll be fanatic enough to do it, that's a different question, but it's an open question. Then we look at who else. Now, through the whole, since the start of the SMO and the events in Ukraine, and even before that, the actions in the EU, but lately in the last couple of months, since they started, the Poland or the Polish people, Polish government rather, have shown a very aggressive attitude towards the whole conflict, and especially Russia. And I can understand why they might hate the Russians. And then you can identify them as a possible suspect. Why? Well, they have a huge hatred for the Russians, number one. they do not support in total the EU as an authoritarian entity. Germany has already pointed out on several occasions that they would like to rule the EU. They wanted to have the army, the European army, under German control. And even Stolz suggested that the veto power, the effective veto power of all the countries involved in the EU should be reduced to a consensus vote with the control of the German government. So you can see that the Germans are trying to start to control the EU. And since they were always producing the biggest financial contribution to the EU, that is a natural outcome of that. But the Polish people didn't want to accept that, and there is some friction between them and the people in Brussels. And so Poland might consider the Germans as a threat, or to put them a little bit down, cut them short, you know. If you cut the bush short, that's basically what I mean. And then what they have done recently is they have instigated or initialized a claim for war reparations for World War II to a value about a trillion euros, which the Germans said, whoa, 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 no, 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 no. That matter has been settled in 1959 or 56, I'm not totally sure, where they signed an agreement under Soviet rule, which the Polish tried to reject. But one thing one has to forget, the Yamal gas pipeline goes to Poland, and the Polish people have cut it off before, so there is no gas flying through the Yamal pipeline through Poland to Germany. So that pipeline has been effectively cut off. And we also know that on the day of the explosion, there's a new pipeline from, I believe, Norway to Poland that was opened. So as you can see, the development is what, firstly, the Polish government controls the Yamal line, so they control that flow of gas. And then you have the Polish that will receive the gas from the Norway to Poland. And will that only be for their own consumption? No, they will maybe transport it to Germany. So that gives the Polish government leverage over the German government, whether you like it or not. That gives them motive. And they are very near to the position where it was exploded, so they have access. Like I said, 100 meters is not difficult to dive, so they would have the technology and the people capable of doing it. And as a state actor, it's not difficult to do. So there are also possibilities. And they are crazy as hell to do it. And then you have the other three small countries like Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia. Oh, they are so fanatically, don't want to even go there. They might just do it for the pleasure of hating the Russians. Don't care about the rest. So their motive is just their insanity. In any case, and then, you know, what bothers, well, there's another possible culprit, and that is Britain itself. Britain is at this stage has some LNG ports, and they get gas, and they do transport the gas to Europe via France and Netherlands and so on. And I have mentioned in my previous videos that the French and the Netherlands guys were complaining because there's a lot of contaminants in the gas that they receive from Britain, and some of that contaminant is actually radioactive. So you see there's a little bit of problems. And Britain is enough of a poodle that just to please the Americans and gain their goodwill, they might just go alone and blow up the pipeline and say, hey, Biden, see what we did. Come on, give us some trade concessions. That's your motive. Do they have the capability? Yes, they have the capability. It's not even a question. And then there's the other thing is that when we look again at the Americans in the USA and ask yourself who benefits and so on, it's these Americans, yes. There are two reasons why they would benefit. The first one is the control of Europe and economic conditions. One can, matter of economics or that you can address. But the other side is usually that America exports LNG to Europe. But then one has to look at how much can the Americans really supply. And it's about, I think, 50 million cubic meters, which is only a third of what Russia delivered. So the Americans cannot replace the Russian gas. So all they had to do is limit, basically, Nord Stream 1 and 2. Nord Stream 2 would have been cut off, limit Nord Stream 1. And they would have sold all their gases that they can produce to Europe and made a killing on the profit margin. And I also know that a lot of these fracking companies and so on, and there's a reduction in fracking rigs and gas supplies and oil supplies that are being pumped out because the wells have a very short lifespan, and these fracking people are at this stage limited by new investments because of their investors that want the return on their money. So they are prevented of doing new wells, and therefore they cannot extract all the gas and oil that they want to or can. So there's a limit on the supply side as well in America. So the Americans are not going to benefit that much on the gas side, maybe on the economic collapse of Europe, but then again, if the economy collapses, then what market are you, if the Americans want to export to Europe, but the economy in Europe has collapsed, then who's going to buy the products? So I don't always understand the logic that other people are trying to convey. But what we do know is one thing. We all are speculating because we have no real information. And the biggest question one has to ask yourself, will we ever know? That's my story for today. If you like what you heard, press the like button. Didn't like, dislike button. You want to hear more? Subscribe to my channel, please. And until next time, cheers.